Starfighters, welcome to Mad Science Films. I'm Jimmy P, filmmaker and sexual astronaut. First up, please, guys, check out our fourth feature film for free over on YouTube. Just search for Little Monster or click on the link in the show notes below. This episode, I'm joined by a very special guest and returning champion from last year, Mr. Jonathan Zaurin. Jonathan, thank you for joining us again, man.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it was great. We had a really, really good chat 14 months ago. It's absolutely mad to think it was that long ago. It doesn't seem that long ago. And that was just after you'd completed your first feature film. You'd screened it, and I think I rewatched the episodes again just to remind myself where we were in the timeline. You had just had it picked up by a distributor / sales agent. Yes, a simpler time.
Yeah, that's why I look about 620 years older now.
Oh, man, all of us, man. Look at the grey here. You know, like it's been a harsh year for us all. Now you're also in pre-production and fundraising for your new feature film, Derelict. Going back then to Wyvern Hill, aka Hollow. And I think, you know, what was great was, you know, if I'll drop various links to the triple bill of interviews that we had at the time. But I think it's really useful, and it's great that you're joining us today. We can pick up the story from last time, and, you know, especially for filmmakers to kind of hear the next stop of the story. Now, unlike a lot of filmmakers, you were really successful in terms of getting your film traditionally distributed. You know, we know between us a lot of filmmakers who've made their film and at best have done their self-distribution, and it's kind of radio silence after that. So if we start with, you know, kind of the more practical matters, so I think it was Devilworks picked it up. Was that a global distribution deal that you had with
it's a mix. So I think they're assuming responsibilities distribution wise for the US under their label New Era, something like that. And I think they're doing the UK,
right?
Though we're still waiting. But outside of that, they also act as a sales agent. So I know for a fact that they sold to German territories, that they sold to Russian territories, that they sold to Scandinavia, that they sold to Benelux, and I'm probably forgetting some. But, you know, so huge in that respect. The trailer on Britflix has been seen. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, because I had to stop going because the comments were just. So I'm not going there. But a huge amount of time, and that's just one channel. And then we had other channels. I think there's one channel that had 50,000 views in one evening, and then the trailer got deleted, and then it got picked up on Joe Blow, and then it got picked up on. So on that level, I mean, there is no denying we have been hugely successful.
I bet. So what countries has it actually been released in?
Currently, I think it's the US. I don't know about the other countries. I know there's Spain as well.
Okay.
But because it's kind of a weird thing, because they're selling it to other distributors. So unless you follow it closely, sometimes its title changes. Sometimes they revert to the original title. They put it on their own streaming platform. It's kind of hard to keep track of it, to be honest. I know it's not out in the UK because that's the one I'm following, because that was the important one for me.
Have you had friends and family like having a moan about, you know, you shot it in Britain but it's not out in Britain yet?
Yes,
we had that as well. We had a US release first, and it was just like
annoying, actually, you know.
I would love for it to be released as well, guys, but, you know, we are at the whims of distributors and their bizarre
this is
releasing schedules. So
this is exactly it. So, but essentially, you're taking the brunt of everything the distributor is doing. So, which is baffling to me. But it just speaks to how much people don't know about the film industry.
True. With the US release, was that a physical release as well as?
There is a DVD which I had to buy for myself.
Okay.
Right, so that's amazing. Actually, my producer Todd bought me 2 copies. So thanks, Todd. But, you know, the fact that I had to buy my own DVD is just, it tells you everything. In a way, it tells you everything you need to know. And pretty much on every streaming platform in the US. So Amazon, Vudu, whatever. Honestly, name it, it's on there.
Yeah.
So that's great. I mean,
Yeah,
but
you're getting eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that comes with a price, right?
Yes, it does.
That comes with a price, especially when the distributor does a less than stellar job at selling your film, I guess, you know.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point, mate, and that kind of leads to my next question. So I think when we spoke last time, they hadn't finalized the final artwork for the Devilworks
still had
release.
hopes. I was a young man full of hopes then.
Yes, exactly. And I think, yeah, I've had a similar experience being burnt by the artwork, perhaps not being representative of the film. So what was your experience like that with the distributor / sales agent? And
So,
in terms of, was there much two-way communication with that?
there was a lot of communication at first, and then when we signed the contract, that kind of stopped. You know, it was like,
Sure.
okay, now they've got us. They'll do whatever the fuck they want. Unfortunately, you know, what you find is that these people, I mean, at least those we signed with, they're very pleasant, very professional, until they basically don't owe you anything. And then they basically stop communicating. Well, for us, they stopped communicating. And it's been, the tricky thing is that essentially when they released Wyvern Hill, I knew there might be a title change, and I knew they might change the poster. I guess I was kind of okay with that, in the sense that I understood that this is also an industry and you need to sell. But my thinking was that, yes, you need to sell, but if you're smart, and that's my problem, is I think that I'd be happy for them to do what they have to do and do the devil's work. But it needs to be smart. Right? You can't just shoot the whole room and then wonder why everybody is dead. You've got to target exactly who you want to shoot at, right? And the issue is that they did the most generic artwork you could think of, and the most generic title you could think of. And by the time they started sending me all those things, I was like, no, guys, this is not right. This isn't possible. And they were like, yeah, we know what we're doing. Right, okay, so the problem is they had the first poster and they went to the Cannes film market with it, and they knew what they were doing so well that nobody picked it up. Right?
Right, okay.
Okay. So
was
then
that, when you say the first poster, I think I saw that one. Yeah. Was that the one with the blonde girl and had hands coming out?
Yes.
Right, okay.
I think no idea what the fuck that has to do with the movie at any point whatsoever, right? They could have gone with anything. They could have gone with a puppet. They could have gone with scissors. They could have gone with absolutely anything. They chose. You know what? I would have even done the pictures for them. I'd have shot whatever they needed for them. That was fine. All they had to do was communicate, collaborate with the filmmaker. I would have been more than happy to do it for free, save us all some money, and we can all make some money. And that works. That would be in an ideal world, right? But so they did that poster, and then it didn't work. So they did another one. It seemed to work. But now we were in the opposite situation where it kind of worked a bit too well, right? So that's how you end up with a film that's been made with £5,000. That is a very bizarre film, admittedly, right? It's a kind of a mix of soap opera with giallo, and this is something we've done. Like, it was thought out, it was crafted that way for a reason. It's the little life of an old lady, and then a disease invades a world, and so on. So we had,
it's not your typical subgenre of like a home invasion or a supernatural kind of thing, which those distribution guys might be great at selling those, but that's not what Wyvern Hill was.
No, not at all. And I'm not the kind that blames the audience for not liking a film. That's fine. I get it. But what I'm saying is that you have to. That's the metaphor I used on the BBC the other day. But if you try and sell a steak to a vegan, they're never going to be pleased about it, essentially. So you need to reach the right audience. I also felt that they should definitely mention the budget in the description of the film. Sell it like that, the £5,000 movie. You know, how many £5,000 movie have you seen that looked that way? You know, but they didn't. And so what we ended up with is a film that essentially, to some extent, to you know, as far as indies of our size go went absolutely crazy, got downloaded I don't know how many times illegally. The trailer has been seen I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times the DVD's been sold. But the problem is all these people, they're buying this film and they're expecting that kind of James Wan thing, you know, with the hands coming out, and they see that poster and it's kind of Drag Me to Hell, Sam Raimi, and that's what they're expecting. And all of a sudden they get that little surreal slow burner where nothing is explained and it's like you've got to do some work, and so you're reaching the wrong audience and they absolutely hate you for it. And I don't mean they don't like the film, they go, it wasn't for me. They hate you. Like they are so angry.
Because they feel they've been tricked.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the point. They feel like, well, hang on, I bought this and this isn't the film I bought. What is that shit, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you'd sold it to, as Wyvern Hill, the way that we sold it, that little poster Italian style, first of all, you'd reach the right audience. You'd reach people that are open to this sort of thing. They'd go like, oh, okay, that's for me. I think that's for me. Whereas what happens when you sell it as hollow, the way that they sold it, you reach the wrong audience. Well, that's step one. Step two is you don't reach the right audience. Because people that would be interested in seeing Wyvern Hill, they look at hollow, they go, oh, what is this 2 pound trash thing, you know? But the other thing, which is nasty in a way, because it actually, hang on, I'm a bit sun there. Is that better? Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that's kind of discouraging in a sense is that we took so much pride in how the film looks and how the film sounds, which a lot of, no offense, but a lot of indies don't.
Yeah.
Right? So you look at them and about 5 minutes in, you go, yeah, it's not lit. There's no microphones and this doesn't even bother to do a grade. So yeah, okay, I get it. This costs £5. But with this, I think most people don't even compute it. It's like they're looking at a studio movie or something, and then all of a sudden they treat it like that. And they don't realize it's a little film that's been made during a pandemic for £5 grand. And I'm not saying that if people realize they'd love it, but I think that they'd probably be gentler if they knew, you know, there would be at least that sort of, oh, well, at least I respect that. And actually, I kind of proved that because when it first got released, unfortunately, I'm one of those where I've got that weird need to look, right? And so the day it got released, I was on IMDb after a very successful festival run, all the positive reviews, and you look at your film going from like 8, which it's not an 8, you know, but it should, you know, but people love it in festivals. They you know, and you look at it coming down, and you go, oh, where's the bottom? And then essentially, you know, with IMDb's system of weighted average and all that shite, you end up on a 2.9, right? And you go, wow. And you're looking on YouTube, and the comments are like angry at you, right? I mean, I still remember people saying like, when filmmakers run out of ideas or take drugs, they make films like Hollow, or when this is what talentless filmmakers do, you know, this shit, that pure trash, absolute shit, you know, and you go, wow. And so that day I thought, you know what, now I'm going to engage with one of them at least, you know, just see what the fuck is going on here. What you find is, first of all, what happens is that there's multiple things as well on top of the fact that it was missold and sold to the wrong audience, and it's a kind of, I don't like saying that, but it's kind of an intellectual movie in a sense.
Okay,
which
sure.
The DVD doesn't sell. It's like, this is jump scares and all that, and it's not that. You know, you've seen it, you know. And what you find is, first of all, people that have seen it released in the way that it is, the actual story escapes them. Because the way that we've played Wyvern Hill is you get that surface story, but the real story is actually underneath. It's the surface story is just dressing. It's not all that interesting. It's the basic slasher giallo, but the real story is underneath. But that's kind of going, people go, I have no idea what the fuck I just watched. So that's number one. So they hate that. The second one, and that goes back to my point, is that people have no idea that the budget is what it is. So I engaged with this guy and I said, look, I get it. I'm just here to chat essentially, but what I wanted to point out is this is a tiny film. It's £5,000. I don't know why you have to trash it that way. I think there's so many shit studio movies all year. I mean, they don't care if you trash them, but we do. It's important. It's kind of important to us, because if we're not going to make any money, which is point 3, I guess, at least we can have our artistic integrity. And this guy was quite aggressive at first, and then I was like, no, dude, seriously, I'm not being funny. I just want to understand. And when he mellowed, he was like, to be fair, for £5,000, your film looked kind of incredible. And so you get to the bottom of it, and you go, yeah, part of the issue is I think most people don't see it that it's a £5,000 movie, and so they see a studio movie, and by studio movie standards, it's like
giving the audience the benefit of the doubt. I think because distributors are presenting a studio movie poster, and let's be honest, most of the mainstream studio movie posters are shit, and generic as fuck.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you totally, man. I think if they use the original poster, and if you're scrolling around and you're watching it digitally and you see the thumbnail of that, there's a certain type of audience that are going to like that, and then there's a certain type of audience, which will be the guys complaining, who are going to look at that and go, "That's not for me," and fair enough.
Yeah,
but it is this tricking thing, and I think that's where the hate, and it is a level of hate, because they feel ripped off.
I hate feeling cheated, right? So I do get it. I understand the feeling. I'm not saying I don't understand the feeling that these audiences have. What I'm saying is that it's not me.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the tension, isn't it, between distributors who use that scattershot approach of generic title, let's just get eyeballs. Who gives?
Well, the point is the distributor doesn't give a fuck about the artistic integrity of the film.
No,
and this is what we're going to talk about in a minute, because actually I've reached a point where I don't give a shit. Like, fuck them. But the other thing that is shocking is you make a film for £5,000 and you find a distributor, and that goes to what you were saying about self-distribution. You find this distributor and you go, all right, well, at least they're going to make us some money, right? I'm getting shat on, but that's fine. I mean, I'll wipe my tears with my money, right? But it doesn't work that way, because they are potty mouth cunts. That's what they are.
Wow.
We've had 2 quarterly reports this year, and each time you actually make less money. You actually owe them money. The first report we had, apparently that first poster cost £2,000. I'm like, wow, okay, wow, but that's a lot of money for to pay a student for Photoshop for an hour of their time, I think. But okay, that trailer costs, I don't know how much. It gives too much away. It's a good trailer, but it gives too much away, and it sells the wrong film once again. You sell the whole thing, visionary director and all that stuff, and I'm like, all right, it flatters your ego, but the problem is, again, let's calm down a little bit. I get it, but come on. And so you get those quarterly reports, and the first one was at minus 10,000. There you go. Amazing. And then you wait for the second one, and it's on minus 12.5. And you go. And the suspicion is that
how have they justified the increase in debt?
Well, that's the thing, right? So because you're in these, and that's how it works, and I mean this, right? I'm not just an angry person. Most people find me angry, but they find I also make sense, and they kind of understand why I'm pissed off all the time. When you're in India, you're weak. What are you going to do to your distributor when they're conning you? Are you going to sue them? Do you know how much that's going to cost you? Do you know how many years that's going to drag? You're weak. You're at the mercy. You have to bank on their honesty, right? And when they add to a bill that it costs them $2,000 to do a poster, you go, really? But part of you knows, well, I can't prove that it didn't. How do I prove that it didn't? Especially,
and they'll have creative accounting. So,
of course, and especially if they're using sub companies you know, because you have to imagine that these people, they're based in Malta or whatever, their company, so tax havens for a start, but also they, you know, they probably part of the reason that they want you to have their artwork and their title and all that is because all these are justifications to charge, but it's probably done in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have been suspicious when they asked me to do the quality check with their cousin company, and I refused because I could get it done for free by someone who was accredited, and I got it done for free. But then you find out actually it costs £1,000 to do that bloody quality check, right? And so they're charging you for all those things. And the suspicion is that these are sub companies that they also own. So they can essentially invoice themselves. Hey, look, we have an invoice. What are you going to do? You're going to go, no, this is no. Well, yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's that, let's just say, your experience is not unique, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm taking a risk talking about this because they might get a bit pissed off with me, but you know what? I think someone needs to speak out. This is because we're all in the same situation. It's like, hang on, everybody's making fucking money out of my movie except me.
That's the bit that, yeah, absolutely. That's the bit that always has annoyed me about the traditional setup is if my film didn't make money, okay. But it's the fact that you know somebody is making money out of your film, and they are consciously deciding not to trickle that down to the actual creative talent.
Right. There is no way a trailer that's been seen, all right, let's say for sake of argument between all the channels, blah, 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 a trailer that's been seen 300,000 times doesn't transform in a profit for a film that costs £5,000.
Yeah.
Okay. There is no way. Like we could have literally put it on YouTube and monetized that amount. So
that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and in fact we did, because when we did our own Blu-rays and negotiated 200 Blu-rays, well, we sold them all. And we did a special edition with music and all that stuff. We sold them all. We made the budget of our film back, pretty much. So where did that go? Oh well, you need to have a title check. That costs you 800 quid for a title check in the United States, right? And of course, because they changed it to a one-word title, it's more expensive. And there's like 60 million films called Hollow, right? Fucking twats. Okay. Quality check is going to cost you. Delivery is going to cost you. Oh, by the way, all your documents need to be stamped by a lawyer. That's going to cost you. Oh, we need subtitles. That's going to cost you. We need E&O insurance. That's going to cost you. Blah, blah, blah. We didn't make even 80p out of those Blu-rays, which you go, all right, you know what? Okay, that's fine. Why not? We're going to make some money. But you don't. You don't make money. You make nothing. And that's fine, I guess. If you also have your artistic integrity and you're like, well, do you know, I'm an indie, I'm not out here to make money. Cool. But so currently the situation I'm in is I'm not making money and I'm getting shat on. So where do I win? You know, I don't win.
And how long is your deal with Devilworks?
10 years.
How many?
10 years.
10 years. Okay.
Yes.
So they've got it for 10 years.
Yeah.
They are fucking you for 10 years. Yeah.
And I'm never going to make a penny.
And what's communication been like with them? Have they...
Zero.
Really?
I get an email from time to time telling me, oh, we sold to such territory. It never shows on the bloody quarterly report for some reason. I don't know.
But you are getting quarterly reports.
Yeah.
At this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That are uploaded in a folder that nobody tells me about, so I need to check it every so often.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Again, yeah. That's...
And you send, you know, I remember sending an email. I don't know if you saw a couple months back, all the Andrew Jones movie ended up on Netflix.
No.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, do you know what? That's an interesting thing. That means potentially Netflix is looking at horror and indies. And I sent them an email. I said, guys, in the UK right now, all the Andrew Jones movie are on Netflix. You know, this would be potentially, I'm not saying they'll watch Wyvern Hill and go, oh, yes, this is for us. But why not try it, right? Why try something? Nothing. No an answer.
Not even a response.
No.
Wow.
You're okay, right? So you keep going, you keep trying. And after a while, actually, it kind of runs you down. No, I don't bother. I'm like, oh, you know, I don't really care.
And I suspect,
don't think they care.
I suspect that's why they do it. I think
Yeah.
it is a, just a method of wearing you down.
Yeah.
And you just kind of think,
whatever. And you know, it's I mean, they must be making money, right? With all these holidays in Cannes, every time I send them an email, I get a response. We are currently in Cannes, or we're currently in Berlin, or whatever. You go, bloody hell, I wish I had that lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
And that's fine, but the problem is that at some point you snap internally, because you're like, okay, I'm not making any money. I'm taking the shit for what the distributor is doing. No, that's enough. So they can sue my ass if they want. I don't give a shit. The thing is, it's the truth. And the weird thing is, there's a pattern of behavior. I have contacted, I don't know how many people that were distributed with Devilworks. I'm not going to name them because that's not fair. I'm not going to drop them in it.
No,
but
fair enough.
I've spoken to a few filmmakers, and the weird thing is, it seems like there's a delay in seeing what's happening, because you know, at the beginning I was like, guys, so I hear you've got a film distributed by these guys. Oh, how do you find them? Oh yeah, they're great, they're fantastic. Yeah. You go, okay, well, that's reassuring, you know.
I remember hearing, I heard similar things about Devilworks. Yeah.
But then you talk to them, you go, okay, so have you seen any money? Oh, no, not yet. No, we haven't seen any money yet, but they're great, they're fantastic. Yeah, they're amazing. You go,
in the honeymoon period.
Yeah, which is exactly what I found when we were talking online, and they were like, bloody hell, these guys are getting the movie. You know, I made a joke on my Facebook that Wyvern Hill got called elevated horror, which is my punishment for hating on that term for so long, right? But that was him. That was one of the two. He was like, no, it's elevated horror. You know, we love it. It's very intellectual, blah, blah, blah.
So advertise it as that. Wow.
But it's the fact they act like they do you a favor. Like, oh, well, we're getting your film out there. You know, we're getting it seen. And it's true. The campaign was successful. You can't deny it. But I almost would have preferred a less successful campaign that was right.
I think, that's the main point that we keep bringing back to, isn't it? Is if it had been advertised correctly to the audience that would have appreciated.
There would have still some people that wouldn't have liked it, and that's fine. But I don't think they would have been anywhere near as angry.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, right, let's try turn this around as a positive. Yeah. Hey, we've just joined therapy. Welcome to Mad Science Films.
I think it's important for filmmakers to know these things, and
absolutely.
Look, you know, I know I'm going on all these podcasts and shit, and I'm stirring shit, and people go, "Wow, this guy's nuts." I'm not. I'm doing this because I want people to know what it's like. Because a lot of people, they myself. If I could go back to myself 2 years ago, I'd go and tell myself. I'd be like, dude, this is going to be the most important step. You have to be careful.
This is why we like having interviews with filmmakers on there as well, because we've said this. Obviously, we've been through this experience. You and I have had chats in person about this, and I think when we released our video about our experience with distributors, it was round about the same month that you and I first ever met at Fractured Visions. And so obviously, you know, I've always been slightly tongue-in-cheek when it comes to traditional distribution, and it's an experience. It's something to go through. But what I just wanted to say was, I think the side effect, and it is a side effect, and it's a minor side effect, and it's absolutely, I wouldn't argue it's counteracts all the shit that you've been through, is at least by it being seen by massive audience, there will be a small fraction of people who it actually does connect with right.
And to be fair, I had a few people contact me saying, "Oh, it's such a great movie. It's such an underrated movie. People you don't know," and that's great. That's fantastic. You know, I can't. And look, the problem is, I know most filmmakers that are doing their indie film, they're like, oh, what the fuck, this guy complaining about his film's being seen all over the place, blah, 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 and my film can't be seen and all that stuff. And you're like, well, yeah, I get it. I kind of, you take the risk to come across as ungrateful. But I don't know why I would have to be grateful for what's happening to my film, And so it's like, I get it, but here's the thing. Here's how I feel about that. Here's this specific argument. Here's how I feel about it. The reason my film got distributed is because I think it's good quality. Okay, so the first thing is we made a good quality movie, so we found a distributor. So if you take it from that standpoint, then there's no reason to be grateful for a shit distribution.
No, absolutely.
You should have a good distribution. That's what I'm asking for. I'm happy that the film's been seen so many times. I'm happy that the trailer's been seen so many times. But the cost of it is you literally are taking punches left, right, and center, and you're like, guys, come on, I just made a little film. And for me, so the important thing of speaking out is that I want people, if you're making your first feature right now or short film or whatever, just be aware that this is it. And I know you said that it has to do with experience as well and all that, but actually now I've had the experience, I don't know if I could do it any better. That's where it gets tricky, because you talk to people and on the first meeting they're like, oh yeah, well, this is going to be amazing, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and so you go, wow, okay, this is fantastic. But how do you know? You don't know. No. Every person you talk to have gone with a different distributor, and it's the same story. So at some point, it's not to do with experience; it's to do with the way that things are working right now for indies. And I think we need to put our brains together and see how we can. Because actually, the thing and the lesson is this for me with Wyvern Hill. The reason we wanted to do it with $5,000 is we'd never done a feature. We'd done short films. We knew the life of a short film. We knew how it worked. And this is where it's fucking savage, but we actually made money on our short films.
Right. Wow.
I made like $6,000 on these short films over a long period of time. But, being shown on American TV network, cables, So, okay, well, I need to see the lifespan of a feature film. So that's the reason we kept the budget so low. So now we've seen the lifespan of it, and I'm like, I just don't know why I need these people at the end. There's nothing stopping you going to the Cannes film market. Costs a bit of money, but you can do it. There's one online as well. Same for Berlin. Same for the International American Film Market. It's online. Nothing stopping you from doing it. Cut the middleman. I'm not even talking about self-distribution. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about being your own sales agent. Get people buying your film directly to you, not to these people, because they're pocketing the money and then they're billing you for shit that has nothing to do with your film. You don't know where it's coming from. Fucking 800 quid for apparently advertising campaign. What advertising campaign? I had to literally pull the strings, pull everything I had to send emails to people I knew. I had Kat Ellinger make sure that someone wrote a review on DERELICT, which is a beautiful review. I had Anton write a review. All the reviews we had is because I was the one to call people and try and get them to write reviews. And the worst thing is I've done it honestly.
Yeah.
Because Kat's a friend, right? Kat's a friend. And I knew that if she was to write a review, there was no way that she was going to say, well, I thought it was shit in any way, shape, or form. She was biased from the start by our friendship. So I actually said to her, look, I'd love for DERELICT to write a review, but I'd like it not to be you. And she agreed. She was like, yeah, no, I absolutely agree, because it would be suspicious anyway. Yeah. So she asked somebody completely exterior to write it. And I said, look, if they don't like it, write it up.
Yep.
I am happy for this to happen. I don't care about negative reviews as such. I just want the films to be given a fair shake. And in fact, one of the people that we contacted, I think it's on Horror Society or something like that, didn't like the film, and that's fine. I'm not the kind of person who hates people who don't like my film. I just like to be treated fairly. And we didn't get treated fairly, and we got charged for shit that didn't matter. So anyway, we don't need these people. And that's the reason we did a crowdfunding for DERELICT.